Here in Southampton, with its population of nearly 250,000 people, it's hard to believe we have a continual shortage of foster carers. At any one time, there can be more than 300 children in foster care, and this can be for lots of different reasons. Sometimes as simple as a single parent going into hospital with no one able to look after their child. Hello, I'm Clive from Southampton City Council's fostering team. Before you take things to the next stage, we thought it might be helpful if we could show you some stories from our foster carers so you get a feel for what it's really like working with us and the young people in the city. We hope you find it interesting and inspirational because we really want to hear from you.
If I look back to my very first placement, I can remember that phone ringing, and it was Christmas time, and they said, would I be willing to take a little girl who's 2? And of course we said yes. We were so excited. My heart was pounding, stomach, butterflies in my stomach. We ran around the house finding out toys that would suit a 2-year-old. And then when she arrived, she was a gorgeous little girl, 2 years old, winter time in a little summer dress. She had head lice and worms. She needed a great big hug. And it was just a wonderful experience. 2 years later, she moved on to adoption and a completely different child. And we'd gained so much from having her with us.
I sort of came into fostering through my cousin's children who she was having trouble with, and they came to live with us, and they were really challenging children, and we managed with them without any support. We thought if we could do it without the support, then why not give it a go and do it with the support under the fostering team. As it came to it, it was still really nerve-wracking picking up the phone and ringing the fostering team. We found the number in the advertiser and we left that for a couple of weeks. And then eventually I put my hand on the phone, rang up. There was a lovely lady on the end who, you know, my nerves disappeared, and she said, we'll get back to you. And she did, and that's why we're here.
When we first started even thinking about fostering, my mum and dad sat all 4 of us children down and told us, and basically gave us the opportunity to say what we felt if we wanted to do it. If any of us said we didn't, then they told us that we wouldn't have to do it.
Well, I've been a teacher now for about 13 years, and there was an incident about 8 years ago about a child at school. He wasn't the most well-behaved child, but there was a rumour that he'd been thrown out of his house and he was living on the streets. It was true. Next thing you know, one of the cleaners had taken him home and looked after him. And the change in the boy was immense. And I thought to myself, why can't I do that? I thought I'd like to do that, but I never really looked into that deeply. I didn't think I'd be allowed to. I'm a single man, living on my own, no kids. And I didn't think that they thought I'd be suitable.
Kevin, my husband, his sister's fostered for 20 years. And I talked to her about wanting to foster. And when I had to give up work, because I worked with children for years, and she said, why don't you apply to foster now? And I said, no, I don't think they're going to accept me, because obviously I'd ended up in a wheelchair. And anyway, then grandchildren came along, and I done lots with them that I thought I couldn't do. So then my husband and I decided to foster.
If I was taking you through fostering, the phone rings and you answer the phone, and someone on the end said, are you prepared to take? And your heart starts going and you think to yourself, oh, I can't wait, you know. Yes, we'll take it. I do sometimes say, give me a minute to speak to my children, but I know for definite they're going to say yes as well. And so there's great thrill and great excitement, and when they arrive you don't know what they're going to be like, and you think about how you're going to make them feel welcome when they get there. Obviously it's a really scary experience for them, an exciting one for us, but we've got to understand it's really traumatic for them.
Well, after I was approved in September, it was a couple of months before I got my first placement, hanging by the phone, waiting for someone to ring, and eventually someone did. And it was just a couple of nights of the weekend looking after a child because his carer had to go and do something else. On the day, very, very, very excited, I have to say, but very nervous, just waiting for the door to knock. I didn't know what he'd think of me, I don't know what I'd think of him because I never met him before. So lo and behold, that Friday night, the knock came, and in he came with his carer, and I was a bit nervous. I'm sure he was a little bit nervous as well, but I got him to sit down, we had a little chat, and I got the PlayStation on, and We found some common ground, and after that he soon felt at home.
What impressed me most with the little boy that we've got at the moment, he's matched absolutely perfect with what we wanted, and we know that he's not going to ever go home and that he's with us long term. And he said actually that he wants to stay with us till we're in our 70s, and he's so it shows he's happy and we're happy with him, and it just shows what a good job that the foster team have done in matching what we wanted and his needs with us as well.
When we first started, Southampton foster team were brilliant by matching us with a child that really fitted in with our family. Not only did she fit in, our children actually got on with her very well, especially one of them being my second eldest daughter, Leah.
Children come into care for lots and lots of reasons. Sometimes it's just to provide overnight care if mum or dad are going into hospital and there isn't anybody to look after them. Or, of course, it goes right through to that the children have been really badly looked after, or in some cases hurt, and therefore the local authority have removed them because mum is not looking after them how she should be looking after them. And those children come with all sorts of different needs. Some of those children will be really, really easy to look after, and some of them are a bit more challenging.
I came into care when I was 4 years old. I come from a family of 13 and 2 of us went into care as my mother had severe mental health issues and was unable to look after us.
I worked in a school with children with emotional and behaviour difficulties, and thought that how could we make a difference to someone. And even though I had the experience, my family didn't, and we were wondering if there was a way we could do that. And we got into fostering, and with the help of social services and fostering, we were able to have a child come to us. And as a family, we worked with that. And initially, our child came to us for 6 weeks, and he ended up staying with us 3.5 years later, and he's still with us.
As we developed as carers, we found that we were given more complex children, and we weren't worried at all about it, because with the complexity of the children came the support from the foster care services. And not only were they there for the children, the foster children, they were there for my own children. And they were there for me and my husband.
When we had our first foster child, I was really excited. I was looking forward to the call. We got that call, and it was really exciting. And she came. She had her own bedroom. She stayed for the weekend, and then after a while, we became we had a connection. We became like real sisters. And then she decided that she wanted to live with us permanently. Not only that was we wanted to share a bedroom as well. We had to speak it through with our social worker, and she asked me how I felt about that, and she asked the foster child how she felt about it as well, and yeah, she shared a room with me.
I would say that she really got on with my second eldest daughter, Leah, so much so that even though they had their own bedrooms, they ended up sharing a bedroom together for a while, until they really got to know each other really well and became like normal sisters, where they wanted their own bedrooms back.
I came into care, my mum couldn't look after me very well, so that's how I became into care when I was very young. I wasn't the best young person in the world, some people can imagine, some people can't. But then I went to foster home, then I met a certain foster parents, what I call my parents today, who changed my life completely.
My main worry, my biggest worry was that that the children were going to take over, that my mum and dad would care more for them.
My biggest regret is I didn't do it earlier. I listened to all my worries. I worried about everything. I worried whether the house was big enough. I had 4 children. I worried about that. I worried about the dogs. I just worried. The biggest worry I had was the judgment. Would they judge me? Are they go look into my family and start judging whether I'm a good parent or not? And they don't do that at all. That's not what they're there for. They're there to encourage you, actually, and to build you up, and to show you, that you can foster If there are problems, then they see to them early and they help you through them. I was really worried because I'd been unwell, and I told them I'd been unwell, and in the end I didn't need to worry about that. I mean, the main thing to do is be very upfront with them, and if there is a problem or there is anything, just tell them, and then they can come back to you and let you know.
My real major worry was being in the wheelchair and not being able to walk far, is having a foster child and not being able to do things with the child, like physical things, or go up the shop on my own, and I find that's worked out really well because I've got a child that is patient with me anyway. I've been able to overcome a lot of things with my foster child, and I get a lot of support at the end of the phone if I need help. My social worker's always there, or she'll come round if I need extra help. And we've enjoyed this so much that my husband now has given up work, and we're a partnership now, and he helps with the things that I can't do.
I can remember when I first started fostering and they said about training. I mean, I'd left school at 15, I'd not taken any exams. I was petrified when they said to me, you're going to go on training. I was so relieved when I got there. It was such a good experience, an opportunity to meet other carers, share experiences and soak up the knowledge. But as time's gone on, Southampton's training has just come so far forward. I mean, it's excellent training and covers all aspects of fostering and takes you even further. And you can take the training as far as you want to. I mean, I've done my MVQ level 3 in caring for children and young people. You can take it where you want to take it. And you can put it into practice as well, and it makes you feel so much more confident about working with the children in your care.
2 years ago, I felt that I was, in a way, finished because of being in a wheelchair, that I wasn't needed anymore, and I'm still young and I do want to be needed. And now life's just changed so much.
I suppose when I first started fostering, I was thinking about the financial side of it, but I needn't have worried because they do give an allowance which covers everything from the child's food to the clothing, any transport, covers their birthdays and holidays as well, so there was no worry. But as time went on, and unfortunately I became a widow, so I'm a single carer now, I had to really seriously think about how I kept a roof over my head. But in Southampton now they've introduced a payment scheme. So you can go, it starts off at a level 1, which you can get through both experience and training. And then you can move up to level 2. So I've actually made a career out of my fostering. And what a way to earn some money, doing something that you absolutely love.
When we were going through the fostering assessment, we discussed with our assessor the different types of fostering. We could look at respite fostering, which is just overnight or 2 or 3 nights stay.
Short term.
Short-term fostering, which is anything up to 2 years, and then long-term fostering. At the time, we wanted to do respite and short-term fostering because it was best for us. But now we're actually at a point where we've started discussing the possibility of long-term fostering, because we think that our family's now at a safe place that we could actually take somebody in, keep them here long-term, and see them through to adulthood.
The selection process was really interesting. It took a long time, and I was allocated a social worker who came to see me initially to see whether they thought it might be a good idea for me to apply. That they gave me the approval. Then I was allocated another social worker who took me through the training process, and she came and visited me once every week, talking about why I wanted to be a foster carer, what I felt I could offer. And she spent a lot of time actually talking about my background. It was quite a thought-provoking process, having to think about big issues in my life and what impact that will have on me becoming a foster parent.
The assessment took just under a year. It went really quick, and we had courses that we went on, met lots of people that had been fostering a while or just coming into fostering, and then we had to do our life story, and obviously they went into the background of my childhood and my husband Kevin's childhood, went through police checks, to make sure that you were going to be that right person to foster.
When we started, we were at level 1, and those things changed because fostering offer lots of trainings, and these trainings are really good, and they give you deeper understanding of all of those things, and also through that and through the experience and all that, your levels change in payment wise. And when we come to level 3, which we are at the minute, I can stay home and look after the young person and meet his needs, and also care for my own children.
We're actually level 2 payment carers, which is a recognition of skills-based payments, and it's based on our knowledge that we've picked up, the training that we've done, qualifications which we've gained, and it means that we're in a situation where we get extra money apart from the money we're given to keep the child, and it means that Heather doesn't have to work.
I think the children that come to me, I think they appreciate that someone doesn't dismiss them, is interested in what they do, and not going to put them down, and just let them be children really as much as they can be.
The most rewarding is seeing the changes in the children, because the smallest things make such a huge difference for some of the children that come. For some children, just the fact that they get 3 regular meals a day is the world, and you can go and you can buy them, the silliest, cheapest little teddy bear, and they'll react as if you've given them something massive. And then there's their little achievements, when they can first write their name, when they can first do up their buttons, when they can dress themselves, those sorts of things. It's really, really great. Of course, that applies mostly for us because we only have children under 5.
Yeah. But the encouragement that we give them as well, that you can see that children respond to praise, they respond to boundaries. They like to know where they stand. They like to know that bedtime's 6:30 in the evening. They like to know that on a Saturday they've been good, we're going to the park. Little things which, are insignificant to some people are very, very important to these children.
It's good to go into care when they accept you for you and they work with you and they know what you like and what you dislike and how you work, because then you start to feel appreciated and involved as their family, and you feel like one of their own if you build up that relationship with them.
So we try to make them feel welcome. And then you have like a honeymoon period where you're both really treading carefully. They're not sure about us and we're not sure about them. And then before you know it, they're settled in, and you're either doing the school run or taking them to swimming and things like that. And you're settled into this role. And as time goes on, and it goes really quickly, it's such an enjoyable process. It really does go quickly. And then decisions start being made about where they will move on to. And then you're brought back to the fact that they're not our children, we're looking after them for somebody else. And then you prepare yourself for the goodbyes.
I started doing a little bit better at school, but I didn't come out of school the best of everything. But then after that I went into college doing carpentry, and now to this day I'm on a building site doing carpentry, so that's a big achievement and a goal for me.
You can make a difference to someone's life, and you're not going to be on your own because you have the support of the Southampton fostering team, and there's, like we said before, there's training and all of those sort of things. So do think about and go for it and make a difference to someone.
And got a lovely little boy now, and life's just brilliant now with him. Lots of support we get. And if there's anything that we're not sure about, we ring. There's somebody at the end of the phone, and it's just lovely. And I feel I'm back in the living again, and just caring for another child that like I'm sort of back doing what I always loved doing.
We have a supervising social worker who, the ones that we've had have been very, very switched on people, and you can ring them up and get, just have a chat to discuss an issue, get support. They come and do regular visits with us, which is our reviews, to ensure that everything's going right. We can reflect on what's happened over the last 3 months. So they were able to really keep in touch and keep there, but very, very good people who you can rely on.
Basically, when I was younger, I was not the best young person in the world. I was, shall we say, a little menace. 24/7, I didn't care about anyone, I didn't care about anything, I didn't care about myself.
Well, I guess, children in care have obviously come from a background where they've often experienced trauma or had their attachments disrupted or not received the best care in the world, and therefore that has an impact on their behaviours and how they approach when they arrive in foster care, and their expectations of the adults around them can be influenced by their previous experiences, which means they might behave in certain ways that function to get their needs met, but can present quite a challenge to foster carers. So, there are a whole range of behaviours that foster carers might see, from sort of angry kind of behaviour or frightened behaviour, or just a lack of trust, or a lack of being able to kind of get on with adults or ask for their needs, or they ask for their needs in very indirect ways. So you might see things like stealing or things disappearing because they can't trust the adults to meet their needs, so they might feel the need to take things, or other children might present as if everything's fine, like they don't need their carers, and give the messages of I'm fine, I can do this myself, and actually they do need carers, but it's almost like they've learnt how not to ask or how to rely on themselves. So there's a whole range of behaviours that carers can find quite challenging that they might come across, but again it's very individual, and there are all kinds of behaviours and emotions, and these children are often very anxious children, and some children, in order to feel safe, need to try and control the people around them or their situations.
The little boy that we've got is 3 years old, and when he first arrived to live with us, he wore a little helmet, and he walked in with his little hat on, and I was told that he self-harmed quite significantly. And I looked at him, because he was 2 then, and I thought, how on earth can a child of 2 hurt himself that badly? So I took the hat off, and within half an hour I saw how he could harm himself that badly, because he then beat his head onto my tiled kitchen floor several times, and it resulted in a huge bruise on the front of his head. So I replaced the helmet, and when I replaced that, he bit his arm till it bled. And this was because I was busy giving one of my children a drink, and he'd wanted his drink, and because it wasn't first, we had the self-harm. I just didn't know what to think or what to do at that moment in time. I was actually really upset. My children were really upset. We'd never had seen that sort of behaviour ourselves. So although, again, I'd had that training, it kind of shocked me and it jolted me back, and I thought, my goodness. Anyway, as I said, the hat was put back on. I sat down and I tried to reason with him, but when he was like that, there was no reasoning with him. I then removed him from the room because he was upsetting my other children. But again, now having learnt with the therapist that was the wrong thing to do, actually what I should have done was kept him in the room with me so that he could understand he was still safe, but maybe just place him somewhere where he wasn't going to be able to hurt himself, like on a carpet, a soft carpet. And in fact, that's what we went on to do. We had a soft carpet and he would sit there until he had calmed down. But I did not speak to him. I had to speak alongside him, and I would say things like, I know you're really cross, and when I feel really cross, I feel like I really, really want to reach out and get cross and stamp my feet. And that was because he didn't know how to self-regulate. So he didn't know how to bring himself back down and calm himself down. We've now been having therapy for quite some weeks, and I'm really pleased to say we've just had his first school report. Our little boy no longer self-harms. He does not bite, he does not scratch, he doesn't do any of the things that he did when he initially came into care, and we have just had the most fantastic school report. He is at the level any other 3-year-old would be at, and my heart sang with pride for him, because I know now he can go on and live his life normally.
So in terms of my experience of working with foster carers over the years, often, you know, the behaviours that these children present are quite challenging and demanding, and actually one of the really important bits of support that we can provide is to help the carers to kind of see those behaviours in the context of the child's trauma, so that they don't feel so overwhelming and personal and you know, difficult to deal with on an emotional level as well as a practical level. So a lot of the therapeutic support that we provide for foster carers is to kind of help them start to establish safety in the relationship between themselves and the child, so that the child can start to trust the carer. And we've seen a lot of good successes with that. So once the communication starts happening between the child and the carer, often some of the more difficult behaviours the child no longer has a need for.
It's not all easy. Some of it is hard, but it's well worth all of it.
For anyone worried that they might receive a child they don't think is suitable for placement in their house, don't worry about it. When they do need someone to go somewhere, they'll phone you up and they'll talk about the child, their background, any issues they may have, and it's up to you to decide whether you feel comfortable taking them, whether you have the experience, whether you could provide them with what they need. I mean, there have been times where they phone me up and ask me to take, would I take this boy or would I take this girl? And as a new foster carer, I didn't think I had the experience, and I said, sorry, I'm unable to do that, and they've been fine with it. They do understand.
Yeah, there's no hard sell in fostering. You can decide at any stage whether it's for you or not for you. All I can say is, in my experience, it's been absolutely brilliant.
I think that it's worked out well for me that I've had good foster carers, as they've given me guidance, boundaries, rules and regulations, which has enabled me to go on in life and succeed with my college course, having a job and living independently now.
I couldn't live without us fostering anymore. They've got so much out of it, and so have we. And it's become part of our life, and we wouldn't live without it now. It's the best thing I think they've ever done.
Since I've been fostering, I've loved every minute of it. Sometimes the children have been as greatly behaved as I like to be, but I've loved every minute of it.
Well, we've been fostering for 5 years now. We've had 43 children. That's counting the ones that have stayed more than 3 nights. It's actually probably more than that because of the people that we've had for daycare, etc. But it's been really, really worthwhile. We've thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think what keeps me fostering, and I've been doing this for 20 years now, so there's something keeping me there, is when you get a really good outcome. My latest young man, I'd had him for 10 years, and when he first came to us, I could never ever have imagined him living independently, and a month ago he's moved into his own little flat, and fabulous. He's doing so well. I'm just so proud of him. You know, it's just lovely to see him. He comes back to us even a different person. He just got so much self-esteem now, and it's so rewarding.
If you're thinking about fostering, I would say go for it.
It hasn't just benefited our young person, it's really benefited us as a family.
There's so many good times, and to see a child come into your house and change for the better is far better than any money in the world.
I would say to anyone who hasn't picked that phone up, who hasn't filled in that form, do it now. It'll be the best thing they ever do. Look at me.
I have to say I've regretted immensely those wasted years. I wish I had applied earlier.